Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple. That's your no shit gaming news video. 3 news stories in one video with 0 faff. Oh, I thought I'd got lucky. I thought I'd only have to mention Cyberpunk once this week. It was yesterday's main story, for God's sake. Surely that was enough to appease the gods.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Oh, the gods have seen fit to torture me further and make me talk about it yet again, as yesterday CD Projekt shared an investor presentation. Oh, great. The presentation is publicly available on YouTube and you can find it in a link below, but it's not really meant for us as consumers, it's more for investors and shareholders. As such, it is very light on concrete information and is mainly designed to serve as reassurance to investors, but there are a few interesting tidbits and some quite nice graphics. I won't be covering the whole thing here since it's 24 minutes long and mainly full of marketing fluff, so check the link below for the full thing. And don't expect any of this to be a grovelling apology or even an acknowledgement of Cyberpunk's failings. The major standout to me was the company's approach to multiplayer. Even before Cyberpunk 2077 was released, CD Projekt announced that it was at work on a multiplayer project within the Cyberpunk universe. It was and still remains pretty unclear what exactly that project is, whether it will be an expansion to the existing game like GTA Online or a dedicated separate game entirely. It's unlikely we'll hear anything substantial about that game for a while, since President and co-CEO Adam Kaczynski said, "We have decided to reconsider this plan." That doesn't mean it's the end for Cyberpunk multiplayer, but it's clear they desperately don't want a repeat of 2077. Online is one of the 3 building blocks the board members explained form the foundation of CD Projekt's strategy going forward. They do reiterate several times that single-player story-driven content is still the primary focus for the company, but it will be exploring avenues for online where it makes sense. The goal is that rather than putting all of their efforts into one big multiplayer project, they want to introduce an online component in some shape or form to all of their products. In a conference call after the presentation, Kaczynski added a little more clarification. Regarding online, we are changing our approach, so we want to have online in our future games definitely, but step by step. So we are working on specific features enhancing our single player games, but we are not working on releasing the next game as a big online experience. So we will be enhancing our single player games with online experiences. So whatever this multiplayer Cyberpunk project once was, it seems to have been changed entirely to support the main game rather than as a standalone title. It's still unknown what exactly this experience will be, whether it's going to be something more like an MMO or just regular game modes, but we'll have to wait and see. They are developing new technology to facilitate this move towards online and will combine it in some capacity with the GOG marketplace and community. Development has been restructured to allow for parallel game development rather than working on one project, then the next, and so on. CD Projekt's whole way of doing things is seemingly changing, as one of the other building blocks was Red 2.0, which refers to their own homegrown engine and the actual processes involved in game development. Without ever explicitly mentioning the word crunch, they allude to this pervasive problem and promise to support the dev teams more when it comes to their physical and mental well-being without compromising the quality they supposedly strive for. The aim is to create a more sustainable and empowering work environment with more direct communication across the whole corporate hierarchy. Hiring new talent and sharing skills and assets across teams will allow what they describe as more agile development so that they can be adaptable to change. It was also announced that CD Projekt has invested in Digital Scapes in Vancouver, a studio that had previously outsourced work on Cyberpunk, Dying Light, and Mass Effect, which will now be renamed CD Projekt Red Vancouver. The last pillar in this new strategy for the company is all about building out its franchises. The main plan is to do this with games as the starting point, then integrating some form of online or multiplayer functionality, and even exploring mobile games, such as the upcoming AR game The Witcher Monster Slayer. Next-gen versions of these games are also part of the plan, and the presentation confirmed that a PS5 and Xbox Series version of The Witcher 3 is coming in the second half of the year. This strategy goes beyond games to things like merch opportunities and other media like books, comics, live action, or anime like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which is in the works at Netflix. Basically, they're trying to create a cross-promotional multimedia franchise rather than just being video games. This graph actually sums up the situation very nicely. The presentation finished by highlighting the key takeaways: building the team and not crunching them so hard, expanding the IP beyond games, and that they have a strong financial foundation to continue development and innovation. Again, this presentation wasn't designed for consumers or to be filled with news, it's just to inform and appease investors, but still had some pretty interesting talking points. The fate of Cyberpunk multiplayer is more or less unknown, but let's just focus on fixing the main game for a while, shall we? And next up, the only good thing that cheaters can bring to the world is their eventual downfall. It's always pathetic and always hilarious. In a coordinated effort by Chinese police and tech giant Tencent, Supposedly, the world's biggest ever video game cheat operation has been brought down. Around $75 million was generated by the organization in Kunshan, which sold cheats on a subscription basis to losers willing to pay for it. During the bust, the police were able to seize assets worth $46 million, including several luxury cars. The operation was known as Chicken Drumstick and ran a website which sold subscriptions between $10 and $200 to users in hundreds of regions and countries, according to local news outlets. 10 people were arrested and 17 cheats were destroyed by the police, and is believed to be the world's biggest cheating case due to the sheer amount of money involved. The gang produced and sold cheats for games like Overwatch and Call of Duty Mobile, among others. One of the gang leaders was apparently apprehended back in mid-January, so the days of Chicken Drumstick are over. I mean, how dare they soil the name of something as fantastic as chicken? The sheer audacity of it.
The impudence! The audacity! The unmitigated gall!
There are two main things I learned from this story. Cheaters are being taken seriously by some authorities in the world, which is great news, albeit it is the Chinese authorities in this case, which don't exactly have the best reputation, but anyway. And selling cheats can be even more lucrative than I imagined. Using cheats is some little dick shit, but I didn't realize quite how much money you could make doing it. Cheating in games has been around as long as the medium has, and as far as I'm concerned, it's totally fine if you want to do it in single player games. Tweaking your own personal experience to have unlimited health, bouncy gravity, or even just giant heads if that's your thing is all well and good, because you're not hurting anyone else's experience. However, when you take that shit online, that's when it becomes a problem, because as long as humans exist, there will always be those weak enough to do anything to, quote unquote, win. And we all know if you're paying for it, you're not really winning, you're just pathetic.
Pathetic.
It's unclear what sort of punishment the cheaters will receive, though I doubt it will be as severe as I would like. I think we need something between flogging in the streets and a mere fine. Personally, I think something along the lines of paper cuts on the nipples sounds pretty good, but that's just me. Let me know how you'd punish these losers down in the comments. And finally, with the recent news that the PS3, PSP, and PS Vita storefronts will be shutting down in the coming weeks, several unreleased indie games are being left high and dry. A number of developers knew nothing about this closure, and it puts some of their games in jeopardy, with some of them having to outright cancel. Multiple games have been thrust into limbo, and it's all due to Sony's poor communication. Vita versions of games like Thief's Roulette and Laser are cancelled, while Russian Subway Dogs and Hand Cannon Janky are left to rush to the finish line. Many of these games do have other releases planned on different platforms, so it's not totally devastating, but it's still a very bad look for Sony to not even tell the folks working on games for the damn platform that it will be obsolete in a matter of months. It's very easy to inform developers to not waste their time and money developing for something that won't even exist much longer. Lilymo Games even bought a dev kit for a Vita just a month ago directly from Sony, with no word of this upcoming closure. Again, most titles will live on in some form or on other platforms, but this is still a seriously poor show from Sony. And that's without even getting into the weeds about what this means for players who bought games on these services, which we actually discussed on last week's podcast. And that's it for today. If you like this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell to stay notified about all future installments. Toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I've been Henry Cooper. That's all for today. Bye for now.